Very quickly, the debate in his news conference turned into a debate about the scheduling and the weight of expectation on the players.
As the season got going, realisation hit. Our success is going to cost us big time. We drew our second match of the season at home to Inter. It's not a bad start. And we signed another legend, this time Patrick Kluivert, but it's not just the name. Check out his knowledge in scouting. He's got an extensive scouting range of so many nations. He's going to be a great addition. And a little update on the recruitment focuses. Argentina is the one at the minute which is showing most talent, such as this man. That is a great deep line forward he's found. It was time for our Champions League debut, and Esposito got off to a great start, as did the whole team. And Parejo just continues to be an ultimate wing-back. So a wonderful start to our Champions League campaign. And in our next match against Rennes, we only went 2 for 2. At this stage, we're joint top of the Champions League table. Stop the count. But as far as our Champions League fixtures go, they're starting to get a bit tougher now with PSG, Valencia, and a tricky looking trip to Arsenal. Yet again, Fiorentina are pre-season title favourites. They gave us our first defeat of the season, followed by our second away to AC Milan. We've had a really tough start in the league. It was looking like 3 defeats in a row until Ruti did this. And then we got back on track with a big win against Monza. And we made it 2 in a row with another good win against Cagliari. Unfortunately, we dropped our first points in the Champions League to PSG. They're just a class above. Look at those names that have scored those goals. Doku, Gavi, Nuno Mendes and Cavadonna. But the very fact that we're actually in these matches means I'm alright with it. I don't mind losing to PSG, and we have won 2 out of 3. And look at our team compared to theirs. That's what you've got to look at. Remember, Ruti's one of our main strikers and he's only valued as a Serie C player, so we are pulling up trees. But as you can see just there, injuries are starting to rack up. We just cannot deal with these fixtures.
When the amount of games start getting bigger, the performing and the quality of the games are lower.
Now the season is a bit stop-start, isn't it? I'm actually okay with it. We're playing pretty well. And if you look down the dates, we're playing every 3 days, which is something brand new for this team and this squad. And I think I've got it a little bit wrong. Because as you can see, we don't have the biggest squad in the world. And a lot of these subs are really subs. They're even backup subs because they're just not good enough for this level. We haven't had the greatest luck either, with new signing Sebastian Aliotta breaking his skull in training. But I've had a few messages like this throughout the season, and it's so early on, but we keep having stacked cards of injured first teamers. Now, finances are really good, and if you think every win in the Champions League gives you 2.4 million, we're making good money now. So I went to my board, and I was going to make a board request about finance, specifically the transfer budget. And both my requests were granted. The first one was I asked my transfer budget to be increased for the next transfer window. It's gone up from 1 million to 7. And this was a big one as well, because every time we sell someone, we were only getting like 20%. Now it's bumped up to 50%. So if you think last season, for example, we cashed in £30 million worth of players, but we were only able to spend about 8 million of that. Now with this news, at least we'll get a bigger chunk to strengthen the squad, because man oh man does it need it. So we need to muddle through till January to bulk up this squad. That's the aim at the minute. Now, I did talk about Parejo. Now he's injured at the minute. There you see him. He's out for about 3 weeks, but until that point, he'd started great with 4 assists already. And there's some big teams after him, but watching the matches, he is so dominant down that left-hand side. Quite often, Condello is just left watching him and just like not doing anything, just wandering around in here. And if you look at him, you can see that. He's got no goals this season, only 2 assists. His average rating is only 6.67. It's a huge drop-off at the minute from last season, which is a bit of a worry. So because Parejo is so good, I mean so good, I've created a second tactic for games to get this player more involved. And here it is. It's very simple. He moves across into the shadow striker position. So Parejo can just bomb up there. It does mean that this player here needs to cover him a bit more. So we're going to ask this guy to stay wider and then get further forward slightly less in this formation. So he's got a bit of cover. But when we've got 2 drop-off strikers like this, it's going to leave a gap for the shadow striker to burst through, and Condello should be really good at that. Also helping us out is the player instructions for the left side deep line forward with mark specific position. We've got to have him watching the right back. So if we lose it, he'll tuck in there if the Shadow Striker's bombing in the box. Honestly, I think it's a good move because Parejo's that good. This position here was just getting a bit lost in the shuffle and not really contributing. You'll notice Kalina was on the bench there. He's just back to fitness now, but as you can see, he's another one who's adapted the con of susceptible to injuries. This is an alarming trend. Now, it is very early days and we are sat in 11th position. We've only lost 2 matches. We're on 14 points. We're not too far off where we finished last season. And we are still pretty solid. We've only conceded 12 times. We've just had a really rough start to the season. So I'm hoping with this clutch of games coming up now, the likes of Lecce, Bologna, Pisa, Parma, we should get a bit of momentum back. It's just this has thrown us off a bit, being in the Champions League, the amount of matches. Another tough day in the Champions League followed at Valencia. And literally after every match in the Champions League, I'm having to go to the team and give them a rest for a couple of days afterwards because as you can see from the condition, they are destroyed. The Esposito show continued against Bologna and the Parejo-Esposito combination got us back on track in the Champions League, which means about a month out from the January transfer window, I don't know what to make of this season so far. We're sat in mid-table in Serie A, but we aren't far off 6th, and in the Champions League, we're just touching the glorious top 8. This could be a season where we really focus on the Coppa Italia. I think this is the season where I need to cool my expectations and forget about the progression every year where we've gone higher and higher and higher. I need to calm down, remember that I've got a pretty weak team and we're actually doing pretty well. This could be the dreaded transition season, but I do want to achieve something in the Cups. I need to get a Cup win for this team. Remember, the overall goal is to get a Serie A title back for Vercelli after all these decades and decades. But it's good to see, after all our hard work, all our pestering of the board, the facilities, they're starting to get there now, dudes. They're starting to get there. Although it's maybe not only me that needs to calm their expectations down. What are the board thinking about here? C+. And the supporters aren't much better either. Wait a minute. Am I actually under pressure here?